Hello, everybody. Welcome to the opening plenary and keynote for UIST 2021. Really excited to have you all here. We've got almost 100 people here, and I'm sure that more folks will join as we get going. So I'm Jeff Nichols. I am a research scientist at Apple and also the general chair of UIST 2021. And we have just a few slides here to get you introduced to the conference. I think this will take about probably 25 minutes or so, and then we'll go right into Tessa's keynote about 4 p.m. So first, before we get started, I did want to acknowledge that today is Indigenous Peoples Day, at least in many parts of the United States. So I think it would be a good thing for all of us to kind of, especially if you live somewhere where you are on the native lands of some indigenous people, to take some time today to reflect on the history of those folks. I happen to live on the former land of the Kumeyaay tribe here in San Diego. And also, consider how their cultures continue to this day. It's many of these cultures are still around, and I don't think we acknowledge them quite enough. All right. So with that, one thing I want to say about UIST 2021 is that, like all conferences, this only happens with the help of quite a lot of other people and organizations that support the conference in a number of ways. So want to give a lot of thanks to all of them, starting with ACM, the Association of Computing Machinery, and also SIG-Chi and SIG-Graph, who are the main supporters behind this conference. They help us manage the financial realities of running a conference, and we owe them a big debt of gratitude in terms of all of the various types of support and service that they offer to us. As well, we have a number of corporate sponsors for the conference. Our platinum sponsor is Facebook Reality Labs. And I should mention, as part of their sponsorship, they have a presentation that I believe is on day 2 in time block C. I will tell you a little bit about what that means in a second. But they're an interesting hour-long session that you may want to check out. We have 3 silver sponsors: Adobe, Apple, and Autodesk. So thanks to all 3 of those companies. Not sure how all 3 silver sponsors happen to start with A, but that was not a qualification for that role. And then our bronze sponsors: Intel, Intuitive, Microsoft, and the Toyota Research Institute. So again, thank you to all our sponsors. And then finally, want to give a huge thank you to all of the members of the organizing committee for UIST. I think that this is all of them, but it's quite possible, since there are so many, that maybe I've accidentally left someone off here, but a huge group of people that have helped in so many ways for the last year plus in making sure that this conference would come to fruition. Throughout the rest of this opening, I've tried to include the pictures of people when we're talking about the things that they helped with. I haven't managed to include everyone, and I also may have left some people off in places. So my apologies if I did that. That everyone here, and you can also go to the organizers page on the conference website to see everyone's name and their affiliation and all of that. But we definitely owe a huge debt of gratitude to all of these folks. So thank you, organizers, very much. All right, so obviously this conference is virtual again. If you saw any of my introduction to UIST 2021 at UIST 2020, at that time, I think we were a little bit optimistic that maybe we would be able to have a physical conference this year. Obviously, that wishful thinking did not last very long. Pretty much by the end of the year, we knew that it was going to have to be virtual. And so we are virtual again. And I think we're building a lot on the foundation that UIST 2020 set for us. So there are definitely a number of things that are pretty similar about the way UIST 2020 was run and how we're running UIST 2021. And I'll describe all of these things anyway. So if you weren't at WIST 2020, you'll still, I should hopefully get some idea of how the conference works, but I'll also kind of describe it for folks who were here last year and may not know how we're doing things differently. So some of the things that are the same from WIST 2020. So we are using Zoom for our presentations, especially the paper presentations, obviously the plenaries as well. We're using Discord for our Q&A and for a portion of the social interaction. We also continue to have a virtual student innovation competition like we had last year. And also, we're continuing the focus, I think was started last year on, being respectful online, making sure we have a code of conduct for the conference. We'll talk about that in a couple minutes. But, these are important things that we're definitely taking seriously again this year. We'll talk about that, as I said, in a second. So what's different this year? A really long list of things. So to start, we released the preprint papers. I hope a bunch of you took advantage of this. We released those back in mid-August. So this is actually something that I've always wanted to do running a conference, since I was a grad student many, many years ago, is to get the papers out and in people's hands, as fast as possible. There's not really, especially now, there's not really a strong reason to keep our, to follow the print schedule and, the months and months that it takes to get the papers out. And so I hope that was something that people enjoyed and valued this year. Another big difference from last year is that this year we have a 24-hour schedule. And so we've done that to try to be inclusive to all of the different time zones that are from which people are coming to for this conference. I'll talk a little bit more about how we're doing that in a second, but the long and short of it is that we've tried to set 3 different time blocks throughout the day, and we're having every paper and poster and demo and most all content, in fact, presented twice in 2 different time blocks. So there should be an opportunity for anyone, no matter where you are, to be able to view that content at a time that is relatively convenient for you. You don't have to stay up until the middle of the night to see any one thing in particular, I hope, except for maybe the keynotes, which are slightly different, but we'll talk about that as well. Another big difference from last year we had this gallery, which was kind of a custom built website to show the schedule. The gallery has evolved quite substantially in the last year. The company that built that for WIST 2020 has continued to develop it. It's become a big service of SIGCHI for a lot of conferences. We are continuing to use that this year. I think it has its quirks, but it's also pretty nice. So that's something that's a little different than last year, but also I guess in some ways kind of the same. This year we also have longer paper presentations. So I don't recall how long they were last year. I think they were pretty short. This year we have 15-minute slots per paper presentation. They start with a pre-recorded video that could be from 5 to 10 minutes long. Authors got to choose that length. And then the rest of that time is used for Q&A. So we're hoping, not only do we have these longer slots, but also we have quite a lot more time for Q&A. And so we're hoping that creates, that much more opportunity for engagement and discussion this year. We're also including all of the authors in the Q&A panel. If you are an author on a paper and you're present and you have your Zoom name set to your full name, then you will get promoted to a panelist to answer questions during your paper session. I guess if you don't want that, you should keep that in mind. But we wanted to make sure that all of the authors could be present and not just a select few. You didn't have to pick and choose who the one person was going to be and things like that. We also have a tremendously increased emphasis on our social programs. I'll talk a lot more about that and some very ambitious and productive social chairs who have come up with a lot of things I think that will really add to the conference. One of those things is lightning talks. So before every paper session, there will be a couple lightning talks from new attendees at WIST. So you get to learn a bit more about the young attendees at WIST and what they're up to. And finally, another part of that is that we do have an additional social platform, the OEA tool. Talk a little bit about that, but that's just another place where you can go and socialize during the conference. So want to start a little bit with talking about our community and who's here. So this year we're down a little bit in terms of attendees. You may remember that we had about 670, maybe even up into the 700s worth of attendees last year. We're a little bit lower than that this year, although I think it's continued to grow. Definitely a bit over 500, 316 students, and a number of folks who are not ACM members, representing 29 countries in 5 continents. And we also have 40 student volunteers that are helping throughout the conference, especially to manage Q&A and to help with Discord and the registration desk and whatnot. So quite a lot of people here. I mentioned before that, you know, one of the things we're focusing on is respect in an online medium. So it is really critical that we all feel comfortable to participate in the conference space, you know, no matter any number of things, you know, that make up our background, you know, geographic origin, gender, race, etc. So there is a code of conduct. It was linked, it is linked in the Discord channel, I think, rules. So you would have had to agree to that when you entered Discord. It was developed last year. Really can't take too much credit for the code of conduct. We did modify it a little tiny bit this year, just based on things we've heard and how virtual conferences are proceeding. But it is definitely a serious thing. But you know, it's the kind of thing where you should interpret it as, you know, we're here to support each other, and yeah. So just be aware of that, and let's hope that we don't have to enforce any rules as a result of the code of conduct. The link also, there's a bit.ly link there if you want to get to it. But as I said, it's also linked in Discord. Related to this, so SIGCHI has started a resource called SIGCHI Cares. So these are a collection of individuals who are here to, you know, serve as a resource for those who experience discrimination or harassment at SIGCHI conferences. So, you know, if something happens, something comes up, you know, you should absolutely feel free to let me know about it. But if for whatever reason you're uncomfortable doing that, definitely you can reach out to the SIGCHI Cares representative that is here at the conference. At UIST, that's Celine Latulip, and you can see her email there. One other thing I didn't say, but I will say, is that I am going to post a link to these slides on Discord after the plenary is over. So, so if you need that contact information, you can get it from there. And we should probably also pin that in a Discord channel. I think we'll get to that soon if we have not done that already. Okay, one of the major things I wanted to talk about is the 24-hour schedule that we have adopted for this year. I think if you look in the program, it may not be entirely obvious what the structure of the schedule is. So I wanted to make sure that I explained that a little bit. This is a great figure made by our digital participation chairs that kind of gives you an idea of what the schedule looks like. So it is, as I mentioned, there are 3 separate time blocks across 3 days. So every day is pretty much the same. There are some slight variations, but in general, you know, we have three time blocks, as I mentioned. So, you know, if I zoom in on day 2, there's block A, which is generally for the Americas and Asia. So it's afternoon, evening in the Americas and morning in Asia, I believe. Block B is designed for Asia, Europe, Middle East, and Africa. And that's, you know, I think afternoon in Asia, morning in Europe. And then block C is, again, Europe, Middle East, and Africa, and the Americas. So morning in the US and the rest of the Americas, and the afternoon, evening in Europe. So that's how it breaks down. And again, I mentioned each content item is presented twice in 2 of these 3 time blocks, not necessarily on the same day, I should point out. So if you attended Chi, you know, they used a schedule that's somewhat similar to this, but essentially they had the same sessions across the time blocks. And so everything that was presented twice was presented in the same day. So in our schedule, we weren't quite able to accommodate that. So we ended up with, unfortunately, a few folks, and I really apologize if you're one of these folks, ended up with like a presentation on day 1 and day 3. But there aren't too many of those. And again, you're only answering questions. So hopefully that's not as big of a deal as it might have been if you had to prepare and give a talk all those times. I also want to zoom in a little bit into each time block. So we are using kind of a regular schedule for these time blocks. So the first 60 minutes of the time block is usually for a plenary session. So like this opening plenary now, UIST visions, the town hall, other keynotes, they all kind of occur in this first hour. Then we generally have 2 hours of paper sessions, which are generally 3 parallel tracks, sometimes 2 parallel tracks, followed by an hour for demos and posters, and then there's a social hour that follows that. There are some exceptions to this, but most of the time blocks look this way. Obviously, this opening block and the closing block, we have an extra half hour just to accommodate the extra presentation that goes along with the keynote. Demos and posters are on days 1 and 2 only. So there are no demos and posters on day 3. And the student innovation contest is only on day 2. So, and then also some of the plenaries start at 15 past instead of on the hour. We only have 1 visions talk this year, for example. And so we kind of compressed that time a little bit. But that's what the 24-hour schedule looks like. This is also in our Getting Started doc, which I'll mention in just a second. So if you want to go back and review and understand the schedule, you can definitely go look at it there. I want to talk a little bit about the technology that we're using for the conference and mention what I just said, the Getting Started document that we have. So if you go to the UIST webpage, there's this Getting Started link right up at the top, and that has a bunch of instructions on kind of how to get started, how to get registered in the various platforms, which is something that you absolutely want to do. Otherwise, you'll have a hard time finding the links to these webinars and all sorts of conference content. As well, we also have kind of tried to structure that page in terms of user journeys. So how to attend a session, how to ask a question, all sorts of things like that. If you're confused about the technology or how to use it, that is hopefully a great resource to go to. And if you have any questions, there's the help desk channel in Discord that you can definitely go and ask questions. These are the 2 things to make sure that you have access to. So if you follow the instructions on registering and you use an ACM account if you're a member, or you create an ACM account as a non-member, you will be able to see the registered attendee links in the online program. So links like that on AirLink are an example of that. If you can't see those, that probably means there's something wrong with how you, maybe not wrong, but a little bit of a discrepancy with how you registered and how the program understands how you registered. And so definitely you should ask in the help desk if you're encountering that problem. As well, there are many channels in Discord that can only be seen by registered attendees. That includes especially the live session rooms, which are the places where you ask questions. So definitely encourage you to make sure that you're registered on Discord. That's pretty much all you have to do is write your name in the registration desk channel, and we will get that figured out. So we have 4 technologies. I kind of mentioned this already. There's the programs.sakai.org webpage. That's the online program where you can go to see when everything is. We have Zoom, we have Discord, and we have OYA. So the program's website, I think, as I mentioned, this is kind of an extension on the gallery that we had last year. I think this is really nice. Everything is presented in terms of like your time zone, so you can kind of figure out when things are relative to you as opposed to trying to convert to Pacific time or somewhere else. So encourage you to come check out the site. It does have a few quirks. I have some notes about this in a second. Zoom is where we're having all of our presentations. And I should mention that is slightly different from last year. So we still have Zoom webinars for plenaries and papers. That is how 2020 worked. But this year, we're also doing demos, posters, and student innovation contests in Zoom as well. So we have a Zoom meeting with breakout rooms. And so essentially, you'll go into the Zoom meeting and then go pick the breakout room for the demo or poster that you want to see. We did that because Zoom has, I think, just somewhat better video sharing capabilities as compared to Discord. And so we thought that that would work a little bit better. Hopefully that's true. In all these cases, you can ask questions and meet the presenters in the live Discord channels that I mentioned. And then also there are channels in Discord, and I guess I should just go to Discord here. That's the next tool that we have. Discord is where we do live and asynchronous conversations. If you haven't used Discord before, it's very much like Slack, although it does also have voice and video channels. And it's kind of our central communication hub. Definitely the place if you need help, go to the help desk channel. If you can't get into Discord or having some other problems, you can also send an email to uist.helpdesk@gmail.com, and we will see those and try to help you as best we can. In addition, we have a new social platform this year called Oyay. This is kind of a private and group video chat platform. They would probably be upset to hear me characterize it that way. It does a lot of things, and it's pretty fun. So it's a new customizable platform. We're going to hold our social hour there. There's also some social meetups, and I believe the Ask Me Anything sessions as well will happen in Oyay. So check that out. I think it's a fun tool to play around with and hang out at. One thing that I want to make sure everyone understands how to do is ask questions of the presenters. We really want to have a very interactive program. So where should you go ask questions? So if the presentation is happening now, we have this set of live session channels that are in Discord. You can find them under the live sessions category, and we've named them by room. And so if you look in the conference program, you will see a room associated with every session. And then if you look in the live sessions, you should see the same names over there as well. And if you would, you can engage with me on the trivia of what all the various names are from. That could be fun. Otherwise, if you are not, if the paper's not being presented, or whatever content item it is not being presented right now, there's also a separate channel for every paper, for every demo, for every poster, and for many of the other content in Discord as well. So you can go to Discord. I suggest you use Command K or Control K to search through the channels to find the particular paper that you're looking for, and then you can ask a question there. And that's a great place to carry on a longer conversation about a specific content item if you have the interest to do so. One question, especially I'm sure presenters are worried about, is how do I go check my audio video technology before I answer questions for my paper or before I present my demo? So there are a couple of things to do here. If you're presenting a paper, we have tech check rooms. They're in the program. They are open pretty much from about half an hour before a time block begins until about a half hour before the end of the papers block. We sometimes reuse these rooms for other presentations, so they don't last the entire paper session. But if you are presenting a paper, this is a good place to go. All the papers are in the Zoom webinar format, so that's not a good place to check your technology. So if you go into these Zoom meetings, you can check there and then jump back out to the webinar to actually engage in your session. Finally, if you are presenting a demo poster or student innovation contest entry, so the demo, although if you look in the program, you'll see just an hour for the demo and poster sessions, that Zoom room actually also opens a half hour before the time block. So that's definitely somewhere where you can go at any point to go into your Zoom breakout room, make sure that you can get in there, make sure that your technology works, and get things set up in advance before the session start. Some other quick notes. And I realize I'm running a little bit late here, but if you look in the program, you'll see all these on-air buttons. That is a little confusing. Those are the Zoom links. They're not on air just because they say they're on air. Clearly, there's some usability issue here, but they do turn red if the session is happening now. So you can actually go see that if you look in the program under the opening plenary right now. Also, unfortunately, the ACM DL buttons, which appear for every paper, are not working today. Everything that's in the adjunct proceeding, so posters, demos, those work. Papers do not. Turns out it's because we got our information to ACM on Columbus Day, which is a holiday. Well, and now many places known as Indigenous Peoples Day, but ACM apparently is taking a day off today, so hopefully we'll get those working tomorrow. Did not realize that they would be off today, so just an unfortunate occurrence. Finally, for all of the video conferencing links, the passwords are embedded in the links, so you shouldn't ever need to know the password. But in case for some reason that breaks or something, the password for all of the sessions, Zoom, Oyay, it's ACM 2021. So if somehow you end up in a situation where it asks you for a password, that's what it is. Hopefully that doesn't happen, but we'll see. Finally, I just want to mention that we are doing this fun scavenger hunt activity. You can go to the Awesome Attendee channel to learn more. There's also a post in our Medium blog that you can check out. Okay, wanted to talk a little bit about the social program. And so we have our great social event chairs there who have done an amazing job. This page that you're seeing here, this is actually the interface to our OEA site. And so these are 3 of the things that we have as part of the social program. So number 1, there's the social hour lobby. And so you can go into the social hour lobby. There are a bunch of these rooms. You can just join. They're fun. I would say, like, the videos appear in kind of funky spots. It looks like you're sitting across the couch from someone or whatever. Also, there's a place to go watch the lightning talks if that's something that you would like to do. And also at the very bottom there, it's maybe a little bit hidden, a little small, but you can actually create private video chat rooms as well in OEA. So if you want somewhere to chat privately with someone, but with video, that could be a good place to do that. In addition, we have social meetups. So we have 4 social meetups throughout the conference. So there are actually 2 diversity and inclusion meetups. They're called To Be in Person or Not Be in Person, what should the UIST conference look like? And then also 3 kind of topically themed meetups for haptics and mixed reality and fabrication that are throughout the conference. You can find all of these in the conference program. So I'm not going to talk too much about when they are here. As well, there are the Ask Me Anything sessions. And so there are 2 of these. So one is about applying for faculty positions by Stephanie Mueller. And the other one is How to Design Your Thesis Statement and Use It in Your Job Talk by Wendy Mackay. And so again, you can find these in the program. An easy way to find all these, by the way, is to go to the index and then pick content. And then there it shows you all the different types of content. And then you can pick Ask Me Anything or Meetup or whatever, and and get a good sense of what all of those items are. Finally, there's another tool that we are using at the conference. It's called Who to Chat. This is a new research system from a team at MIT. And so this is basically a tool to help you connect with other people, with similar interests in the conference. One thing I want to mention about Who to Chat is that it does require a little bit of a setup and registration phase. The first time we have it being used is today after the session, after this time block, I guess towards the end of this time block, I think during the social hour, there will be a time to use that. But you can go there at any point and register. And then there will be 3 other times throughout the conference where we encourage people to go to the tool and find people to meet up with and have a chat. So definitely check that tool out. I think it's a pretty exciting system. So definitely take a look. All right, finally, I'm going to turn it over briefly to our program chairs, Ranjitha Kumar and Michael Niebling, who are going to talk a little bit about the technical program.
Thanks, Jeff. Quick welcome from us. Hello, welcome everybody. Ranjitha and I are going to quickly walk through the program. Jeff, on the next slide, we're going to show you the people that were involved, and we wanted to thank Gerard Laput, who was the program technology chair, and our student assistants. And then we also definitely wanted to feature all the associate chairs. So the UIST program committee has grown over the years. We are now at 79, just one short of 80. And those people really helped us. Many of them actually worked extra hours to get a few of the papers into acceptance form through shepherding. So Jeff, if you go to the next one, I can quickly go over the statistics. So the final submission count that we had in the PCS system was 367. We accepted 95, and 18 of those were with shepherding, which I think is actually a really important effort on behalf of the ACs that we could get these papers in. And it's probably one of the highest acceptance rates we've had at UIST, which is now 25.9% for this year. Thank you, Jeff. And Ranjitha is going to go through the awards.
Thanks, Michael. So hi, everyone. Based on the number of submissions, we have 3 best papers and 3 honorable mentions this year. And this is similar to previous years at UIST. Michael and I asked 5 members from the PC to serve on a best papers committee, and they went through top scoring papers as well as papers that were nominated during the review process to pick the winners. So without further ado, I will announce the winners. So the first honorable mention is X rings, a hand-mounted 360-degree shape display for grasping in virtual reality. The second honorable mention paper is Roadkill, nesting laser cut objects for fast assembly. The third honorable mention is Gesture AR, an authoring system for creating freehand interactive augmented reality applications. And going on to our best paper awards. The first best paper goes to altering perceived softness of real rigid objects by restricting finger pad deformation. The second best paper goes to Sounds Ride, affordance synchronized music mixing for in-car audio augmented reality. And last but not least, the final best paper goes to 10 million users and 10 years later, Python tutors design guidelines for building scalable and sustainable research software in academia. So congratulations to all these authors, and thank you to the Best Papers Committee for all their hard work in choosing these papers. So now I will pass it back to Jeff.
Yep, congratulations again to those papers. Several of these are presented in the next sessions in this today, so definitely take a look for those. And we will get these icons appearing in the conference program very soon. But wait, there's more, just a little bit more about the content, and then we'll get right into the opening keynote. So we do have 3 keynotes throughout the conference. We're actually presenting each one of these in a different time block. So Tessa's obviously presented today. Then we have Manohar Swaminathan on, I think it ends up being, it's block B on day 2, which I think here at least is Wednesday night. No, it must be Tuesday night. And then at the very last session of the conference, we have Melody Ivory, who's going to be talking about more human HCI. So that'll be in the morning US time, afternoon in Europe. We also have UIST Visions. Visions, hopefully people will recall, has been a kind of an ongoing event for the last, I don't know, 3 or 4 years. We just have one Visions presentation this year from Ken Hinckley, the seen but unnoticed vocabulary of natural touch, revolutionizing direct interaction with our devices and one another. So that will actually be presented twice, I think tomorrow. And then we also have 25 posters, 37 demonstrations, 9 doctoral symposium presentations, and as well the 13th Student Innovation Contest. They're also taking place. So these are all things to check out during those demo and poster sessions. Another cool thing, I mentioned these briefly, is we have the lightning talks at the beginning of every paper session. I think we're showing about 2 of lightning talks, which are these very short, like 1-minute presentations from first-time UIST attendees, just to give them a way to kind of gain some exposure, which is a little bit more difficult in these virtual conferences as compared to a physical conference. And these were all organized by the social events chairs. I wanted to give them credit for bringing this to fruition. All right, finally, one last award before we move on to the keynote is the Lasting Impact Award. So this has been a longstanding tradition at UIST, where we give an award to a paper that is 10 years or older that has had a large impact on the research community. This year, that Lasting Impact Award Committee was headed up by Wendy Mackay. And this year we picked a paper from UIST 2011. And that paper is KinectFusion, real-time 3D reconstruction and interaction using a moving depth camera. Quite a lot of authors. I'm not going to say them all, but congratulations to all of you. Really incredible achievement. This is actually quite by far the highest cited paper ever at UIST. Just happens to have been published 10 years ago. So lots of congratulations to them. You may have noticed in the schedule that there is a Lasting Impact Award talk. It didn't have any information in it. That will show up later today. But that's taking place on day 2 in Block C. They'll talk a little bit about their work and this paper. And you have lots of opportunity to ask them questions about it as well. Okay, finally, and I'm sorry we're running a little bit late, we are going to go into the opening keynote, which is by Tessa Lau, entitled Building Dusty Robotics.